Imagine waking up with a fever so intense your body feels like it's on fire. Pain spreads through every muscle. Strange sores begin to appear across your skin. You don't know what's happening. No doctor is coming. No medicine exists. And the people around you are just as terrified. Now imagine facing this. Not in the modern world, but thousands of years ago. This is the story of how ancient humans survived one of history's deadliest enemies, and how their fight against disease quietly shaped the world we live in today. Long before hospitals, pharmacies, or even written language, disease was already hunting humanity. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors lived in small bands. They wandered forests, crossed frozen plains, and followed migrating animals across endless landscapes. Life was dangerous, but there was one unexpected advantage. People rarely stayed in one place. Small groups meant fewer chances for deadly diseases to spread. If someone became sick, the illness often died with them because there simply weren't enough people nearby to keep it alive. Nature, strangely enough, offered a layer of protection. Then everything changed. Around 12,000 years ago, humans made one decision that transformed civilization forever. They settled down. Fields replaced forests. Villages grew into towns. Animals were brought inside fences. Food became more reliable. But so did disease. For the first time, humans lived shoulder to shoulder. Smoke drifted from crowded homes. Waste piled near drinking water. Chickens scratched beside children. Pigs slept only a few steps away from families. It was the perfect playground for invisible killers. Many of the diseases we fear today likely began as infections carried by animals. Every day, people milked cattle, butchered livestock, and breathed the same dusty air. Tiny microbes suddenly had millions of new opportunities to evolve. The jump from animal to human changed history forever. One of the most terrifying diseases humanity would eventually face was smallpox. Imagine skin covered in painful blisters, high fevers that lasted for days, blindness, permanent scars, entire communities watching helplessly as loved ones disappeared. For thousands of years, smallpox became one of humanity's greatest nightmares. No one knew what caused it. Some believed angry spirits had cursed them. Others blamed the gods. The real enemy was far too small to see. Without microscopes, ancient people had only observation, and observation became their greatest weapon. They noticed that some people survived outbreaks. Even more remarkable, those survivors almost never became sick again. It looked like magic, but it was biology. Their immune systems had learned to recognize the invader. Although ancient people couldn't explain antibodies or immune memory, they understood the pattern. And that realization sparked one of humanity's earliest medical breakthroughs. In ancient China, India, and parts of Africa, healers experimented with a dangerous but brilliant idea. Instead of waiting for the full disease to strike, they exposed healthy people to tiny amounts taken from infected patients. This practice became known as variolation. It was risky. Some people still became seriously ill. Some even died. But many survived with only mild symptoms. Afterward, they gained protection against far deadlier outbreaks. It wasn't perfect, but it was revolutionary. Thousands of years before vaccines, ancient humans had discovered that the body could be trained to fight disease. Without understanding viruses, they had uncovered one of medicine's greatest secrets. Survival also depended on something far more powerful than individual strength: community. When disease arrived, families cared for the sick even when it put their own lives at risk. Food was shared. Children were protected. Knowledge passed from one generation to the next. Which herbs eased pain? Which water sources were safest? Which places should be avoided during outbreaks? Every lesson was earned through unimaginable loss. Some communities vanished completely. Others adapted. The survivors became living libraries of experience. Over centuries, humanity slowly became tougher, not because disease disappeared, but because people kept learning. Every outbreak forced new ideas: better hygiene, smarter farming, cleaner water, safer food storage. Each small improvement increased the odds that future generations would survive. Then, in the late 1700s, an English doctor named Edward Jenner noticed something extraordinary. Milkmaids who caught the much milder cowpox disease rarely developed smallpox. Inspired by observations that echoed ancient practices, Jenner created the world's first true vaccine. It changed everything. Over time, vaccination spread across continents. Smallpox, once responsible for hundreds of millions of deaths, began to retreat. Then came an announcement that would have sounded impossible to every ancient civilization that had lived in fear. In 1980, smallpox became the first human disease ever officially eradicated, a virus that haunted humanity for thousands of years, gone, not because it became weaker, but because humans became wiser. The battle against disease has never really ended. New viruses still emerge. Old infections return. Pandemics remind us that civilization remains connected in ways our ancestors could never imagine. Yet every modern breakthrough stands on foundations built by people who had no laboratories, no microscopes, and no scientific textbooks. Only courage, observation, and an unstoppable determination to survive. The next time you roll up your sleeve for a vaccine or recover from an illness that once had been a death sentence, remember this: your immune system carries the legacy of countless generations who faced invisible enemies with nothing but hope, resilience, and hard-earned wisdom. The greatest weapon against humanity's worst diseases was never just medicine. It was our ability to learn. And if history has taught us anything, what invisible threat is humanity learning to defeat right now?